Rockbeard presents 8 Strange Messages Found in Bottles. Number 1. The current oldest message in a bottle was one of 1,020 bottles thrown into the sea between 1904 and 1906 by a scientist at the Marine Biology Association in Plymouth. The message was discovered washed up on a beach in Germany by retired postal worker Marianne Winkler. The bottles were part of a project to study deep sea currents and were designed to float just above the seabed. Number 2. Now for something completely different. While strolling along the beach at Oceanside, California, Mariah KL13 stumbled across a message in a jar that creeped her right out. The jar was full of a strange pink liquid, which, when drained, revealed a folded piece of paper tied with black ribbon. Unfolding the paper, Mariah realized there was actually a washed-out photo of a woman in pink. The photo had been pierced several times with pins, which may indicate that this was an attempt at casting a curse or hex. Number 3. In 2011, a crew from a hijacked Italian cargo boat was saved by passing British commandos after sending their rescuers a message in a bottle. The captured crew were trapped in a sealed part of their ship as it was overrun by the bloodthirsty pirates. Not long after throwing their note into the water, 2 NATO ships arrived and special forces stormed the ship and freed them. Number 4. In 2009, a letter written in 1944 by 7 Auschwitz prisoners was unearthed by a Polish construction crew. Workmen were renovating a cellar near a former Nazi concentration camp when they discovered the note rolled up and hidden in a bottle in a concrete wall. The note was written on a small paper scrap from a cement bag and contained the names, camp numbers, and hometowns of the prisoners, all of whom were aged between 18 and 21. The note was verified by historians who suggested the young prisoners simply wanted to leave some record of their existence behind. It's now part of a public exhibition. Number 5. In 1995, 10-year-old Hellraiser Josh Baker dumped a bottle of his mother's vanilla extract down the sink so he'd have something to put a handwritten note into. His note mentioned his name and age and requested that its finder put this on the news. Josh then rode his bike over to Wisconsin's White Lake and threw the bottle into the water. Years later, John became a Marine and survived a tour of duty in Iraq. Tragically, he died in a car accident not long after his homecoming, leaving his loved ones devastated. Months later, Josh's friends fished something strange out of White Lake by chance. A vanilla extract bottle containing the message from 10-year-old Josh. Number 6. In Oakland, California, 69-year-old Larry Wright discovered a message in a rusted canister during a hiking trip to Sequoia National Park. The message had been written 40 years earlier by a teenager named Tim Taylor, who requested that anyone that found it respond. It took Larry over a month to find Taylor. He went through public records and visited Tom's former residence, but had little success until he reached out to a local paper called the La Canada Valley Sun. The newspaper wrote about Wright's discovery, and the story eventually got back to Taylor, who was by now a Superior Court judge. Taylor had left the message after abandoning his Boy Scout hiking troop to climb the 12,000-foot peak alone. He'd picked up the habit of leaving messages in bottles from his father. Number 7. If you're an unlucky in love Casanova in search for a wife, don't despair. Get off RussianBrides.com and listen to the story of Ake Viking, a Swedish sailor who left his search for love up to fate. Ake wrote a letter that simply said, "To someone beautiful and far away," then corked it in a bottle and tossed it overboard in the hopes that it met him a young woman to marry. It's a bit like leaving crab traps. 2 years later, Ake received a surprising reply from a Sicilian girl named Paolina. "I am not beautiful," she wrote, "but it seems so miraculous that this little bottle traveled so far and long to reach me that I must send you an answer." Number 8. During a Hawaiian cruise in 1979, Dorothy and John Peckham put notes asking finders to write to them into empty champagne bottles and threw them overboard. They even included money for postage. 4 years later, the couple received a letter from former Vietnamese soldier Hao Van Nguyen, who said he found their message 15 kilometers from a shore in Thailand while escaping Vietnam's communist regime. This meant the bottle had traveled 9,000 miles. The Peckhams corresponded with Hoa for years, sharing milestones like births and weddings, and they even worked with immigration to get Hoa's family to America. Makes you realize how much we take Facebook for granted. Well, thanks again for watching another amazing video, and please remember to hit the subscribe box for many more.